Welcome, brave souls. Tonight, I bring you a tale that will linger in your thoughts long after it ends. A cursed melody that haunts its players and consumes their souls. Prepare for a journey into shadows, where the price of a single note is eternal torment. Will you dare to listen?
I inherited my late grandfather's old violin after his mysterious disappearance. It arrived in a dusty wooden case, untouched by time, and carried an eerie aura. The family whispered of its cursed history, but curiosity overruled my caution. One evening I decided to test the violin. Its strings felt cold, almost alive. As I drew the bow, a chilling, melancholic melody echoed through the room. It felt as if unseen eyes were watching me. My heart raced, but I couldn't stop playing. Each note seemed to pull me deeper into a trance. Shadows in the corners of the room flickered unnaturally. The air grew heavy, and a sudden chill wrapped around me. The melody seemed to play itself, guiding my trembling fingers. Halfway through the song, I heard whispers, soft, unintelligible, yet distinctly malevolent. I froze, but the violin continued on its own, the bow gliding as if possessed. The room plunged into darkness, save for a faint glow emanating from the violin. The whispers grew louder, forming words. "Keep playing or face the silence." My breath caught. I tried to stop, but my hands were locked in place. Panic set in as I realized I was no longer in control of my body. When the melody ended abruptly, the room returned to normal. My trembling hands released the violin, and I stumbled backward. The whispers faded, but I could still feel their cold presence lingering. I vowed to never touch the violin again. That night I dreamed of a shadowy figure playing the same melody in a foggy, moonlit forest. It stopped to look at me, its hollow eyes glowing red. "You've begun the symphony," it whispered, "and it cannot be undone." Despite my vow, the melody haunted my mind. It replayed endlessly, echoing in every corner of my life. I couldn't concentrate, couldn't sleep. The violin, locked in its case, seemed to hum faintly at night. I sought solace in researching the violin's history. Online forums and old books revealed its dark origins. A cursed artifact created by a grieving musician who had traded his soul for eternal fame. The violin's previous owners had all vanished under mysterious circumstances. Their stories eerily mirrored my own, each drawn to the melody, each unable to escape its grip. The curse, it seemed, had chosen me. Desperation led me to a musicologist specializing in cursed instruments. She listened as I recounted my story, her face growing pale. "You've awakened the melody's spirit," she said. "It feeds on those who play it." She handed me an old journal with instructions on how to break the curse. It required me to play the melody one final time, perfectly, in a secluded place under a blood moon. Failure meant certain doom. As the blood moon approached, the violin's whispers grew louder, more insistent. They called me by name now, mocking my fear. Every nerve in my body screamed against touching it again, but I had no choice. On the night of the blood moon, I packed the violin and the journal. The whispers turned into laughter as I left the house. "It's too late," they said, their voices overlapping like a choir of damned souls. The clearing in the woods was deathly silent, illuminated only by the eerie red glow of the moon. I placed the violin on a tree stump, my hands trembling as I prepared to play the cursed melody. The first note rang out and the air shifted. Shadows twisted unnaturally, forming figures that seemed to watch from the trees. The melody poured from the violin like a river of despair, unrelenting. Each note felt heavier than the last, as if the violin was draining my life force. The shadowy figures crept closer, their eyes glowing faintly. They whispered the same chilling phrase, "Play it perfectly or join us." Sweat dripped down my face as I approached the final verse. The shadows now surrounded me, their cold breath brushing against my neck. I fought to keep my hands steady, praying the journal's instructions were true. The last note lingered in the air, and for a moment the forest was silent. Then a deafening roar erupted, and the shadows dissolved into a swirling black mist that engulfed the violin. The violin burned with an otherworldly fire, the strings snapping one by one. The mist rose into the sky, dissipating under the blood moon's light. I collapsed, drained but alive as the forest returned to normal. As I stumbled home, I realized the whispers were gone. The violin lay in ashes at the clearing. I felt a fleeting sense of peace, but a nagging thought remained. Curses never truly die. Life slowly returned to normal, but the melody left a scar on my soul. I avoided music altogether, afraid that even a harmless tune might awaken something dormant. Weeks later, I noticed strange marks on my arm, intricate patterns resembling musical notes. They appeared faintly at first but grew darker each day. I couldn't help but feel the curse wasn't fully gone. One night as I lay in bed, I heard a faint hum. It was the cursed melody, playing softly from somewhere in the distance. My heart sank. I wasn't free. I was merely its new messenger. The humming grew louder over the following days, and I began to see fleeting shadows in mirrors and dark corners. The curse, it seemed, had evolved. It no longer needed the violin. It had found a new vessel, me. People around me started to notice changes. They said I looked pale, tired, distant. The shadows weren't just watching me anymore. They were following me, appearing wherever I went. Desperation led me back to the musicologist, but her home was abandoned. A note on the door read, "The melody cannot be escaped. It only passes to the next player." My blood ran cold. As I left, the shadows gathered around me, whispering once more. This time they spoke of a new task, to find the next soul for the melody. My curse was now my purpose. The melody consumed my every thought, compelling me to seek out someone else, a musician perhaps, someone vulnerable. I fought the urge but felt powerless against the whispers. At a local cafe, I spotted a young violinist performing for tips. Her talent was undeniable, her passion evident. The shadows seemed to gather around her, their whispers growing insistent. "She's the one." I approached her, feigning interest in her music. The whispers encouraged me, promising relief if I succeeded. She smiled, oblivious to the darkness surrounding me, and accepted my offer to see an ancient violin. In my home, I handed her the restored violin, its glow now faint but still menacing. She played a single note, and the shadows erupted in delight. The curse had chosen its next victim. As she played, her face twisted with confusion, then fear. I saw myself in her, helpless, trapped, and unaware of the horrors to come. I whispered an apology, but it was too late. The violin's glow intensified, and the shadows enveloped her. I felt a strange sense of freedom as they left me, their cold grip replaced by an empty numbness. The curse had moved on. Walking away, I heard the melody one last time, faint and distant. The shadows no longer followed me, but their memory remained. The cursed melody had a new player, and my soul was forever scarred.
The story may have ended, but nightmares have a way of clinging to you, following you into the dark. Tonight, when the shadows lengthen and you feel that creeping dread, remember, some nightmares don't end when you wake up. If this story left you uneasy and you crave more terror, hit the like and subscribe button. The real nightmare is only just beginning.